This week, before we head into talking about our new seedling update for this week's vlog and talking about Coco Coir as a soil supplement, I thought I would take you on a little journey with me to a local orchid greenhouse near where I live, where I had the opportunity to visit recently with some amazing orchids. What I love about visiting greenhouses this time of year is not only the beauty of the flowers or whatever happens to be growing in the greenhouse, but seeing the environment they're growing under the protection of the greenhouse, most especially when it's so bitter cold outside here in Colorado. In this case, I visited Fantasy Orchids, which is in Louisville, Colorado. I went with my girlfriend Erica, and the orchids amazed us. So many more varieties than you will ever see in a store. And we left there not only taking home an orchid treasure to call our own, but learning new things about orchids in general, including the many places around the world that they come from. We had the hardest time picking the one we liked best, and I will show you which one I picked at the end of this overall vlog today. And my hope is to come back and share more with you about orchids with the expertise of the staff, which they were amazing in the things that they shared with us. In the near future, we'll come back and we'll talk more in a upcoming vlog soon, I hope. So with that, let's go ahead and head down to my grow room, and I will share you what the seedlings are up to in this week's vlog. I'm excited to share more. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the vlog. Well, we've had about 12 days that have come and gone since we initially did our seedlings, which I have now moved out of the little nursery that I shared in the last video, which I'll put a link here, which our seedlings got started in. And now they are over here because today I'm going to transplant some of them. And I say some of them because, well, let me just show you. Sometimes you do really well, and sometimes not so much. Now this, I'm going to show you the glass half full part first. And these are the geraniums that have been growing, and we're going to transplant these today. Now, unfortunately, as I look at this, well, fortunately, unfortunately, the onions didn't do so well. What I noticed is I had my lighting messed up, and instead of 8 hours, it should have been 16 hours on and 8 hours off. And what happened is things started to get leggy. And because of that, yeah, I lost a few plants along the way. But it reminded me, you know, I've only been doing this for 4 years indoors. I've been direct sowing outdoors for like 40 years. But this is a whole different thing. And the geraniums, so out of 11, there's 6, 7, 8. 8 have germinated. The rest, nothing. There's just nothing there. So that's okay. I'm going to keep trying. The other one was the lavender, which I have quite a bit of that. And I've just got a little bit of seedlings. You can see right there. What I didn't realize, because I didn't read the directions well enough, and we got to do that, right, is that I've got the seed packet right here. On the back of it, it told me special germination instructions, and that was to stratification of the seeds, which means there's a little process of a moist cold treatment that you can put them in the fridge or the freezer. And we'll talk more about that next week because we have a lot to cover this week. But there's still, some of them are still coming through. So I'm going to see which ones can make it through, and then we'll do some with the stratification process in the weeks ahead. This is why I like to get started in January, because you never know what's going to happen along the way. So today we're gonna plant up, because the geraniums need to get into bigger pots. So I have these bigger containers, which I have saved. When I get plants along my way, I always save the containers so that I can use them over again for, you know, like my tomato plants, I'll have tons of them. So I have out in my little barn, I have a bunch of these, probably 50 at least, of those little containers. And so we're going to be planting the geraniums in those today. First, though, what I need to do is my soil amendments. And what I'm going to share with you today is about the coco coir. Coco coir comes in these blocks, and I've taken, and you want to be mindful of the source that you get your coco coir from, because some of it, just like with anything, right, can come from not so great sources. So to make sure that you've got some organic sources that it's coming from, you can get these like blocks of 4 from Amazon. And I'll put a link here for you to get that. But then what we're going to do is we're going to liquefy the coco coir, because it's just a very hard block. It's like a little brick. But all these cocoa fibers that are in here, and I'm going to put it in my handy dandy little bucket here. And then I'm going to pour water on it. So I'm just going to be pouring water over this and letting it soak in the water for about, they say, I've heard people say 10-15 minutes, but I really find that we want to do it longer than that. So I'm going to put the water in there, let it soak it up. We'll come back to that here in a few, because I'm going to mix the coco coir with my other soil that I have. And what I will tell you is this. I had a recommendation last year, just use the coco coir. Just do it by itself. Don't mix it with another soil. And what I found is that it was so hard to keep the plants wet. They just dried out. I lost so many plants doing it that way. Doesn't work for me. And again, here's the thing with gardening. I kind of think of myself as an imperfect gardener, because I got to try my way. How does it work best for me? Just like I think that you need to try it your way. We can watch videos for so long. We can listen to other people for so long. But then we got to just do, right? You just got to do, like so many things in life. So while this is soaking up the water, we're going to take a little break. And then I'm going to come right back here. And I think that's all I wanted to share with you right now. And we'll talk about the plants more closely. It's funny, the Super Bowl is actually on right now, so I'm going to go watch a little bit of the game with my hubby. Not a big football fan, but, you know, I do like to support my husband's love of the game at least once a year. At least once a year. So the coco coir is going to sit here and do that. And I will be right back. Okay, so here's what it looks like. And what I find is that it's almost like sawdust, right? You figure these are coconut fibers, or what this is. And I find that we want it to just absorb the water. So I will usually, with my gloves on, just kind of move it around in the water. And don't worry about it getting wet, because it's just going to absorb in the water anyway. It's what it does, and it will help all of it. And I might even put in a little bit more water just to let it soak up. And it's going to take, I've heard 10 minutes, but I usually find it takes a good hour or so. So we're going to just let this just keep soaking. And don't worry, I find that it's very hard to put too much water in. I mean, anything's possible, but you just want to really to get this to loosen up so that you've got this fiber material that you're going to mix with your soil. So let's go ahead and just let this sit here for a little bit longer. I'm going to give it another, well, we might go watch the halftime show is what we might just go do, and then I will be back. All right, so I've been gone for probably 45 minutes because I was watching the halftime show of the Super Bowl, and now I'm coming back, and I actually did come in here and put in a couple more containers. And what I will tell you is this. So look at this, how it's just kind of peeling off almost. I'm making a mess, but it's peeling off, and you could just see the fibers that are in this. But they're still kind of dry, but there's a lot of it in here. So I just want to mix this up now, because at the bottom, it's pretty wet, but the water has absorbed, and it's really at the consistency that I want it. And what I will tell you about Coco Coeur in my journeys along the way over the last, using it, I've used it the last 3 years. Last year, I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. I used it alone. I just used this as the soil for my seeds, and it was a disaster for me. I mean, I lost everything I put in there because it dried out so quickly, as I was saying before. So I really recommend, for me, and look at some of the fibers in this. Again, this is just coconut. And it's an extremely sustainable solution for soil. It's cost effective because this is not even $5. I don't know. This was, and I have some left over from last year, so I haven't checked this year's prices, and I will do that before I make this video live. But there we go. It's a good workout for your arms, to be sure, and really want to put gloves on for this because it can get very messy. But you know, you're just pulling it apart, getting it to the consistency where everything is moist. Now you're going to get it wet more so when you put it in with the soil, because one of the things that we'll find is that we want to have our, and then I'll find little chunks right in there. Now you can use a 5-gallon bucket. I've done that in the past before too, but I just find it's harder to get into the 5-gallon bucket for me. And I like this more shallow container to do that. And then I'm going to put it into this container right here with my soil a little as I go, because I don't want to, I want to say I want to do 1/3 of this to 2/3 of the soil that I am going to use. So again, why do we want to do this? We want to try to avoid peat as much as we can. It's harder and harder to do because so many products, if you look, as I've shared before, if you look on the back of a soil bag, you'll see that it's got peat in it. And peat, if you look it up, it's just not sustainable because of how they have to take it, and from the wetlands that they take them from. A lot of them come from Canada too, which is pretty interesting. All right, so I think this is where we want to get it. And so now what we're going to do is I will put this over here for a minute and put my soil container here. I've got some soil that I've gotten, and I'm going to just put this in here like that. Buried my shovel there. And then I am going to put some of the Coco Coeur just in the handfuls into this soil. Again, we're going to get it wet, and then we're going to fill up our containers to begin our transplanting process. So just mixing it in. This is really good for your hands. Good hand exercises. I just got dirt all over me. Okay. Some more. Really helps to stretch your dirt. Okay. Feel like that is about 1/3 Coco Coeur. And you're going to find chunks of things in here, right? Like there's a stick. You're just going to take them out. All right. So let me go ahead and get my plants. Okay, so now here we have the finished plants, the beginning of the plants, really, the finishing of the transplanting, should I say. And all I'm going to do at this point, I've watered them down really good. I'm going to put some vermiculite just to help with that, help them retain their water. I'll put that on the top. Just a nice layer of it. It's going to absorb into the soil pretty quickly. What I will tell you is this can be nerve-wracking because you know you're trying to be so careful with the roots, and it's just interesting to see again what happens. It's perfection isn't always possible in gardening. That's the one thing I will tell you. And as I learn the steps myself of doing seedlings, you know, some things work out and some don't. And I have found that with I'll be doing the tomatoes and the peppers coming up here soon. And in about probably, well, what is this? We are almost to mid-February already. How amazing. But I won't do them until March, probably mid-March. We'll see how that all goes. But I'll tell you, they are my favorite. And I also have gotten some dahlia seeds from Floret Flowers, which I'm really excited about, that I'm going to be doing those as well. You know, let me put a little bit more here. But it's just trial and error. That's all I can say about these. Is it easier to direct sow? Yes, indeed. But with our Colorado winters, we have a short, not if because I'm here on the front range of Colorado. We're not up in the mountains, so we're at what 6,500 feet. You know, so we really do want to. Like with these geraniums, I mean, the main thing for me is to have the geranium plants. I had this vision today of I have my she shed out back in the garden area and to do the whole window box with these beautiful geraniums. So that's what I'm hoping. These onions, you know, we'll see how they do. And it's just all trial and error. So let me show you where they're going to go. I've put the rest of the seedlings back into the nursery, as I call it, and then we'll go from there. But let me show you where these are going to go. Okay, so a couple of days have come and gone since we did this transplant of the geraniums and onions, and they seem to be liking this new situation. As a matter of fact, you can see right here on the onion, it's got a new growth on it. And so does this little geranium that I was worried about. It's got a new third leaf, and that's fantastic. So here we go. Everybody seems to be happy here. And then over here in what I am calling the nursery, everything seems to be going just fine. We have some germination of the lavender in the back, some onions here, and then even an artichoke has joined the show. So that's where we are. And I'm going to take you upstairs and share with you that orchid that I said was the one that I picked for my visit to the Orchid Greenhouse at Fantasy Orchids. Okay, and coming back upstairs here to the dining room, here is the orchid that I picked out. They call it a fizz at Fantasy Orchids, F-I-Z-Z, and I opted to get one that didn't have any blooms on it yet so that I could have it blooming longer. And I've had it home here about almost 2 weeks now, and it has not bloomed, but I can see that the blooms are starting to come. The color is becoming transparent. I'll show you the bloom here in just a moment on the screen. But yeah, I love the stalk. Oh, that one of the things that attracted me to this orchid was the stalk of it is just so beautiful. And Yeah, there you can see how it's starting to, where is it? Right there. It's starting to come to life there. And behind it is our Valentine's tree. That was our Christmas tree, is our Valentine's tree. Valentine's Day is actually tomorrow as I record this. Here's a little plant that I got for my husband. Isn't that the cutest? And also wanted to show you the Fiddle Leaf fig, which amazingly, I'll put a link here. I got this and shared the arrival of it into our home back in January. And look at how much it has grown. It's grown about a foot. And this one leaf that just came out this past week, look at it. If I put my hand here, the size of it with my hand. Is that not amazing or what? So there we have it, this week's vlog. Be sure to comment. Tell me what you liked. Will you try the coconut coir or not? Will you get an orchid? Will you go visit a greenhouse? What are you going to do with this information? I would love to know. And be sure to subscribe, like, etc. And have yourself a beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for growing with us, and we will see you next time. And in the meantime, be sure to like, comment, let us know what really resonated for you in this video, and then of course be sure to subscribe at no cost to you and be updated when we have new videos up to play.